Boa tarde a todos. Eu sei que o dia foi intenso e que a cabeça de todo mundo deve estar cheia de ideias, e esse era o intuito. Mas a gente não podia terminar o dia sem falar sobre o nosso papel como indivíduos para a tão falada transformação da indústria da moda. Afinal de contas, organizações, empresas, países são compostos por pessoas. E cada um de nós é, sim, parte da solução. E é claro que a escolha de um estilo de vida mais saudável, mais sustentável, também requer uma transformação pessoal. É importante, então, que a gente se pergunte como os valores da moda sustentável podem ser incorporados no nosso dia a dia. E qual é a contribuição da moda e a nossa contribuição para um mundo melhor. It's a great pleasure and honor to have two real change makers and inspirations to share their experience and visions with us today. They are both sustainable fashion experts and professional moderators and interviewers. Com vocês, diretamente de Amsterdã, Marieke Eyskoot, autora especialista em moda e estilo de vida sustentável, e Patrick Duffy, de Nova York, fundador do Global Fashion Exchange.
The one question that I have for you, though, because this is so dense, like, it was a tough read last night. I'm not going to lie. How and why and where did this book come from?
Well, maybe start with the why.
Yes.
The sole reason, of course, was to be invited to Rio Ethical Fashion. Obviously, that's why you do what you do. This is actually true that's how it happened, because Yame, the amazing Yame, discovered my book, I think it was in New York, am I right? You don't remember, just that you saw the book, yeah. And then she invited me to come here, so that's really amazing. Can I get a massive round of applause for Yame, but all the people who've organized this? Yes. Like a massive, like the big... And it's such an honor to be here. That wasn't, of course, the entire reason I wrote it. I've been working in sustainable fashion and lifestyle for over 15 years. And at every party, every event, every meeting I went to, I always got the same questions. Where can I buy sustainable fashion? What can I do? What do I look out for? So it was my ultimate attempt to try and answer everyone's questions, because many people really want to personally become involved and make change and be part of the change, but just don't always know how. So it was my goal in life, really, since I realized this, to try and help everyone to contribute. And also to show that if you do start living more sustainably, that doesn't mean that you can't do anything anymore, or that your life starts to become really meager or boring. I really believe that if you live more ethically and make different choices, you actually gain more quality, more experiences, a more interesting story, more flavors, just a much, much more improved life. And really, this is something that I believe in and I wanted to show everyone. Also with the added value that the fact that you don't have to be perfect. So I made a good guide, not the guide for perfect people, because that's not possible yet. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't be doing everything you can, but to at least also be okay with the steps that you can take, and not also hide behind the fact that you can't be perfect. I'm not perfect. I sometimes shower too long. I'll just say that right now.
Wait, so how did you compile all the questions? Do you still have all the emails from
Yes,
people?
yeah, I get many emails, questions on social media, but I also do a lot of public speaking and hosting and moderating, so I'm on stage quite a bit. So that's also where I get many questions. And most questions were about, for instance, specific brands and stores. So the book is international, so it's been sold all over the world, from the US and the UK to Australia to Scandinavia, Brazil, lots of countries. So there's tips and tricks in there, things you can do, do's and don'ts, choices you can make, but also stores and brands from all over the world where you can start. Quite a few, of course, that have also been mentioned today, but many more others. But for me, it's really important when I look at the questions, but also the answers that I want to give, is that sustainability and a more ethical lifestyle is not just about buying at all. It's also very much about the way that we see the world and the way that we see each other. So it's, for me, there's a lot in there, and maybe not everyone expects that, about feminism, for instance, about inclusiveness, diversity, about community, about making sure that everyone is a part of our world and that no one's left behind. Because that, for me, and I think it's been said before here today, and there's been so many amazing speakers, I'm having goosebumps all day, but that's really what it's about. It's about the people, and the future of our planet in general really needs to include everyone. And I think that's so important. Yeah.
I have to agree.
And it's really not only about buying, it's, for instance, also about swapping. Hello. Yes. Because I think a real question also is, does everything have to be new? There's so much in the world already, and really one of my top tips I always give to people is see if you can get it, if you really need it, and if you do, is it already out there and you can buy it used in a way. And I think that is such a big part of your life as well, Mr. Patrick Duffy.
It is kind of my
life.
It's
kind of your life. I'm swapping you for someone else. Just no.
Don't
never,
swap me yet.
never.
I just got here.
Never. But you're the instigator between the Global Fashion Exchange. Why did that happen? Because that's quite atypical for people also to have a male person be the instigator of a swapping fest, because quite a few men always complain that there's not enough for them, for instance. So you might not be able to swap at all your own events, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it does sometimes present a challenge, but I know whose closet I need to go to get something good. I'm looking down here at Oscar.
Watch out for your closets. He is coming for your clothes.
I'm like, and yes, I'll be coming over.
He is.
You know, it was kind of a mistake how I started. I have an entertainment, hospitality, and nightlife background, so I was working a lot in hotels, and I owned my own restaurant, and I was working in nightlife, and I was always bringing people together. I was working a lot with fashion as well, because I was getting hired to produce these events for fashion brands, and it was a bit of a fluke, but I'm so grateful and blessed that it happened. But so around the time, like 2013, it was kind of the height of my businesses, and I was working, as I said, in hospitality and restaurants and nightlife, and then the Rana Plaza happened. And I saw that on TV, and it really, really struck me. And that's when it just kind of hit me that my life was pretty much all about consumption, not just for myself, but the promoter of consumption. And I was like selling people everything from experiences to, lots and lots and lots of stuff that they probably didn't need. And I was really good at it. And that was kind of a challenging thing, to know that I was really, really good at doing something that wasn't so good. So, so then when I I became present to what a clothing swap was, it was a fluke. I was in Copenhagen, and I just walked into this place that it just said Fashion Exchange on the outside of it, and like the pandemonium that I experienced was like bliss. I walked into a place, and there was like, not thousands, maybe like 150 people. Yeah, my mom says never let the truth get in the way of a good story, so when you're listening to me, just keep that in mind. So I walked into this place, and there was like clothes flying everywhere. That was true. Clothes flying everywhere. And I thought, wait a second, this is a clothing swap. There's no money exchanging hands here, and this is all what? And so my friend from Copenhagen explained it to me, and I thought, okay, you know what? I can close that chapter of my life now, because I found something that really resonates with me, and I can turn this into what we've turned it into today. So that's how
even
swapping
working
happened.
with NASDAQ, which is the stock exchange. Yeah. That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So it's sort of been growing quite a bit, but maybe you want to tell us a little bit about how that happened.
Sure. Well, since we've grown, we started with one clothing swap, and now we've grown the clothing swap into 150 plus ambassadors that run our programs, very similar to TED, which you are a TED speaker. I'm also addicted to her TED videos, by the way. You need to watch those. Amazing. So we run them similar to TED Talks, where we give people a formula which is free and downloadable, and we tell them basically how to do a swap. So from there, from starting from one, we've grown to that, and then we've also started to produce our own events, very similar to this incredible event, which, by the way, yes. I didn't get my time, but amazing, thank you. And so I thought, like, this is such a massive problem that we have. And everywhere I go, everybody keeps talking about money. They don't have money. And I was like, I don't have money. What the hell? This is, like, not good. So I thought, well, I'm just going to go to where money lives and where money is made. So I just knocked on NASDAQ's door and was like, why don't we do something with you where we create an impact summit and we create a clothing swap project? And then that was it. They fell in love with the idea. And the whole idea about working with the stock exchange and doing the educational component, which we do with all of our swaps now, is that we sit, we have talks, we bring thought leaders together, and we talk about how we're going to create change. And then there's a clothing swap, so everybody walks away with something. And speaking of consumption, that's something that we talk about. Yeah, let's talk about consumption.
I think for me, consumption, and more specifically commercialization of our body and soul, lies at the heart of our struggle to really change something and to become truly sustainable. I think when you talk about consumption, that is just so real to me. Also personally, for me, that has been, to realize this has been probably one of the biggest things that happened to me in my life. Because let me tell you, every single one of you here, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, you are all perfect. Right the way you are. You are, all of you are, and we're all human, right? We all have a color, we all have a shape, we all have flaws, and nothing we can buy can increase our self-love or our self-worth. Absolutely nothing. That is entirely ours. Well, the regular fashion, but also accessories, beauty, sports, gadgets, diets, industries, really, of course, beg to differ, right? They live to tell you you're not good enough. You're not good enough. You don't wear the right clothes, your skin is not smooth or glowing enough, and you don't have the right it bag. You don't look like the model, which is entirely impossible anyway, because almost without exception, there's still, whatever we try and do, and there's much happening in this realm, which is great, but still the majority is very tall, very slim, very white where I come from. There's a real problem there of telling us that we need to look like that, and much of the messaging is really intended to make us feel bad about ourselves. And I think for me, that is such a massive realization, because if you keep feeling bad about yourself, you're vulnerable for the thought that you need to fix it. And of course, they've got the answer. Buying their problem, no, buying the solution, actually, will be the answer to your problem. And of course, we know it doesn't work, right? But we just keep trying. So we're not just only tricked into incessantly buying more and more and more. That actually makes it almost impossible to become fully sustainable, because you just need to buy to belong. And it's just not true. And I think this really is something that we need to actively realize and resist, actively resist, in order to really personally transform into someone who has space for themselves, and also for someone who can make an active contribution to a better world. Yeah.
What do you think is going to get us out of the woods?
Well, I think for me, personally, once you know it and you start to see it and you recognize it, you can make your own choices and take back your personal freedom and really take back everything that is yours, your own beauty, your own power, your own space, really. For instance, I, as a woman, am actually supposed to shave my armpits. Just to give you an example. I can exclusively reveal to you that I haven't. I have armpit hair, which is now supposed to make you feel really bad about me. I'm supposed to be really gross now. Because I'm not supposed to have that. I'm supposed to shave my armpit hair and lots of other hairs. And I need to be really clean and smooth. And when I think about that, I'm just like, but why? I actually quite like the look of armpit hair. I think it's rather sexy, to be honest.
Too.
Yes.
Me too.
Thank you. I like it. Hello. Hi.
Hey.
Yes. So, but then, and the interesting thing is, I need to shave it off, but not him. Guys are allowed to have it. Why? That annoys me even more, because of course I need to erase or delete that bit of my body to sell hair removal products, right? Which are even for me more expensive than for men because of the so-called pink tax. Maybe you've heard of that. The whole idea that women are supposed to look a certain way anyway, so we'll have to buy the products intended to make that happen. So we can pay more for them. We will buy them anyway. So for me, a razor, if I'd use it, is more expensive than for Patrick, which is just the weirdest thing. Now, I don't love, someone's going to say, your legs look pretty smooth. I don't love hair on my legs. So that I do shave off, which means that some people think I'm a hypocrite. No, I make my own darn choices is what I do. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Woo! Amazing.
So that's what it's about, I think, making your own choices.
Making your own choices.
Yes, and that's also a lot to do with overconsumption. Just mindless consume, and I think that's something that you with GFX also address quite a bit.
I was blown away when I kind of entered into the world of swapping to understand how much textile waste there actually is. I don't know if any of you have heard this shocking statistic in the United States. I'm not sure if it's accurate anymore. If it's, oh, we have pictures. Oh, I forgot about that. Okay. Anyways, the statistic is 15 million tons of textile waste in the United States alone. That's a lot. That's almost 30 times the size of the Empire State Building, I believe is what that is. That's a lot of Empire State Buildings. And then imagine what that looks like compounded around the world. So there's a lot of waste, and that means a lot of issues that we really need to solve. And so when I saw that and compounded with the thought of like everything that I had just gone through about the change that I needed to make and what I needed to do, it was really astounding to me that actually this is something that people are consciously choosing to do. And then I started to think about, well, why are people consciously choosing to do this? And then I thought, well, because they're being fed this by these crazy fast fashion companies like I was. And so then it actually clicked and hit me that this is something that we can change. It's going to take a lot of work, and it's going to take a lot of collaboration and coming together in forums like this.
Yeah, because let's talk about this though.
Yeah.
Because that's Mr. Duffy, as you see, modeling his own fashion brand. While you were talking about, there needs to be less and there's way too much, you start your own fashion brand.
Yeah.
Which you're also just wearing, just by the way.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. But tell me about that, because that sounds strange.
It does, and I actually kind of am a hypocrite, but let me back it up a sec. So so the thing is I actually didn't buy, when I started my swapping thing, I didn't buy clothes for like 4 years almost, and I really reduced my life down to about 40 items of clothing. I gave my furniture away, I gave my house away, I gave my boyfriend away, I gave it all away.
I have the boyfriend. No,
yeah, exactly.
No.
Kind of regretting the boyfriend part, but just kidding. That's another show.
We're here for you.
That's another show.
Yeah.
So I started a consultancy along with this global fashion exchange thing that I had. And so with all this knowledge that I amassed in the industry, I started to sit with businesses, companies, big brands, many of them that you know, and I would bang on their door and I'd be like, you need to change to circular. And they would be like, you're crazy. And I'd say, no, I'm not. And then I would actually sit and get paid to talk to them, and what ended up happening is I would walk them through this entire process, this entire thing about where to source from, what certifications, if you were interested in that, what certifications you need, how to produce it, how to get around environmental and all those crazy problems in transport really fast. Anyways, point is, none of them took the bait. And I was like, this is really screwed up. That first of all, I spent all this time with you, and second of all, that you're a massive global company, probably the biggest one in the world, and you're not going to do this. So I just said, I'm going to do this myself. So that's when I was like, you know what, we're going to do this ourselves. And so that's when I met a friend of mine named Lanby, who has a project called Fashion for Freedom, and it is a fully sustainable artisan-based supply chain based in Vietnam. And we came together, and everything that she does is upcycled, recycled, circular, benefiting people, benefiting planet, and I thought, I'm just going to create an example. And so that's the hope. That's where we're at now. Question for you.
Okay.
So we're talking changes. What is it going to take to change?
Well, thank you, because that's just what I was thinking when you were saying these things about how you're with all these big brands and they're just like, whatever.
Bye.
Yeah. So how is this even legal, right? No, seriously, this is, for me, it sounds like a very easy question, but how is it possible that other people and the planet are being massively exploited to facilitate our lifestyles? Like, I find it so difficult to understand that there's people elsewhere, not here, who are creating all of this for us, who are just being treated so badly, and that is actually allowed. And we're all accepting it, right? We're not doing much to say, hey, seriously, this just cannot happen. So I think we need laws. We need laws that make this completely illegal. Because I think the way the fashion industry is being, let's say, organized now, it's a crime. It's a real crime, and it should be a crime, and you should be in jail for these kinds of things, really, because it's your profit, and based on that profit, you're allowed to profit from others, which I think none of us should really accept this, because how can you just choose in a store between something that is made without and with exploitation? It's the strangest thing. And for me, when I look at why, sort of how I have gotten into this, the most unfair thing that happened to me happened on May 7th, 1977 at 3:31. I was born in the Netherlands and not in Bangladesh or Sri Lanka or Vietnam or even Brazil. And immediately I got this massive advantage, right? I got women's rights, democracy, a healthy economy, all of these things that I didn't do anything for. I didn't deserve them or earn them. I just got them. And that privilege is for me the real reason why I'm doing everything that I'm doing, because I need to take every step I can to make that balance a bit fairer, even if it's only just the tiniest bit, because I could just as well have ended up elsewhere. And it's all coincidence, and I don't deserve it more than anyone else. So I think that's why we need to make it.
That's why I think transparency is so important.
Yeah, well, that's why. I think that's also one of your very important topics, right?
I mean, the thing is, I just like to make it super simple. We think about what we eat and what we put in our bodies. We're extremely conscious about that. Like I try to eat organically, whatever that even means. But we're super conscious about that. But then we don't even think about our fashion, how we're consuming fashion. To me, that is just completely ridiculous. So the idea of transparency is like the pinnacle, the hallmark of everything. And it goes beyond certification. It goes more granular than certification. It goes like, are these people being treated fairly? How can we check on that? How can we, and environmentally the same thing. And I think that it's a very important thing that we need to be thinking about.
I think also when we think about the future of the fashion industry, but also the future of this world, I reckon, this all has a lot to do with saying no. Like, just stop it and take a step back and just consider your own thoughts and think for yourself and take back your own freedom and free your own voice and really make sure that we do whatever we can to live a life and create a life for others that is free of oppression, of exploitation, of very limiting binary boundaries, of very limiting views of how we should look or how we should be. Because if I look at the future of the fashion industry, and especially the sustainable fashion brands, for me, it's absolutely their responsibility, our responsibility as a movement, to make sure that inclusiveness is at the heart of what we do. Because when I made this book, I really wanted to make sure that all the images in there were as inclusive and diverse as possible. And so I got all the images from the brands that are in the book, and there's quite some color in there, which is amazing, although not many Asians, which I thought was also interesting. But for instance, my own body shape is not in my own book. So I'm not included in what I write myself. So I'm not part of my own world. Because I'm not thin, I'm not tall, I'm quite muscular, I'm a bit stocky, that's fine. But I'm not a part of the fashion world. And when I look at all the images that I see here on the screens today, I see very tall, skinny people. And I think it's really our responsibility to show that every shape, every age, every color can be very stylish, very amazing, because I agree it needs to look very stylish, because we all need to want it and to show that it can be as amazing as regular fashion. But we need to take that step and lead. And indeed, it doesn't need to be only about what is shown, but indeed, and we've heard it lots today, it needs to be at the table, at the executive stage, everywhere. But it needs to be part of it. And if the sustainable movement is not leading, then we're going to leave it to others, and that should never, never happen. I think this is down to us, really. Yeah.
And I know they're telling us to leave. I saw the sign. That was a very, very good point. But I just would like to impart with this that we're smart people. Like,
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Would
we're
you agree?
So smart. All of you.
I don't. What?
Yes. Hands
We're
up.
smart people.
Smart.
Put your hands up.
Yes. Woo!
And the thing is, I
So
think,
much smarter than this.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Wait, one more time. We're smart people. Do you agree?
Yes.
That's right. So the thing
Follow.
is, yeah, the thing
Follow.
is that's the thing is like, I think it can be kind of a daunting issue, like where you think, oh my God, I'm alone, or oh my God, the world's going to end tomorrow, oh my God, we can never do this. But that's actually just that little voice right here that's telling you that. Because right now, you're in a room full of many, many, many other people who are extremely talented, who are extremely passionate, who are extremely intelligent, who want to do everything, who want to do things just like you, and that's to change the world. So that is the future, and we're staring at it.
That and armpit hair. Yes. Right.
We're staring at you.
They're staring back at us, which
Exactly.
they should. That's
Okay.
good. Yes.
That's it.
Yes.
That's it.
Muito obrigada. Woo!